It's possible to get when you have oral sex. Again, the principle is if there's semen or there's transmission, there's possibility of transmission through sperms or in quote semen, which is the fluid part which carries the sperm. In the context that if it's deep enough for there to be bruises, cuts, laceration, the virus will always take advantage and enter through that means. So it is a possibility. But again, it is in the context of the guy being HIV positive. And I think our advice generally, and there's a general principle out there, the WHO is aiming at everybody knowing his or her status. So let your guy or yourself know your status. If whoever is positive and you still want to go with that, then it will mean you need some protection, because there's protection that can be worn on the penis before you do whatever you want to do in the mouth. In that case, transmission will not be from the guy to you. But in the absence of that, if the guy is positive and is not on medication, and for that matter, viral load is high, if there are bruises in your mouth, there's always the possibility that you can go ahead, you can get infected. There's always the possibility, because bruises makes openings available for the virus to enter, and it could be the beginning of an infection. It's very possible to get HIV through deep kissing. And by definition, if there are such that there are bruises or some lacerations as to the level of the deepness, then it's possible. I mean, HIV happens when there's blood exchange. So anything that will cause a sort of bleeding in somebody who has HIV with another person who doesn't have, there's always the possibility of transmitting from one person who has to the other who doesn't have. Now, the best way to avoid this, there's no oral condom use in terms of wear something, you won't get the impact. But I think the best way out is, before you get to the level where you start doing deep kissing, know each of your status. Because if you know your status and your medication and the viral load is low, then the chances of getting transmitting to other is lower. So, but without knowing your status, if you have it and your viral load is high, there's always a chance of transmitting to another person. So the best way out is to know each other's status. If one is infected, be on medication to bring your viral load down, and then just reduce the passion such that you don't get obvious bleeding when you're having deep kissing. I think that would be the general advice. So it's always good to know that thankfully there's a lot of support for people living with HIV. So nobody should struggle. There's always opportunity to go to the nearest center and talk to a counselor. There are so many HIV counselors trained, and virtually in all public centers and in most of the government or private related hospitals. They can direct you even if you are not sure. So there's really no need for anybody to struggle. Now the recommendation is, if you are diagnosed with HIV, immediately start treatment so that your strength or your level of immunity doesn't drop significantly. And there are counselors who would always, if you are registered with a clinic, so I think the best way is not to stay at home, but get registered with a clinic, start medication, and there are qualified counselors who will talk you through how you can live positively with the HIV, such that you are not going to feel stigmatized or you are not going to get depressed. People can get depressed and a lot of mental health issues if they don't share their challenges with people. At this point in our society, we haven't gotten to a stage where I would say disclose to anybody, because stigma is still strong in the system. But when you get into HIV network in terms of linking up with the clinic, there are social support groups, there are other people living with HIV, there are national bodies that deal with HIV. They would always give you opportunity to get somebody to talk to. And once you know you are not alone, but there's somebody like you, it gives you a lot of respite and hope that, look, you can get support from your own community. We are still getting things in proper shape for people to come out openly to declare their status, but we haven't gotten there yet. So if you haven't been in the system for long, the level of stigma that will come onto you, you might really get depressed if you go disclosing your status. So I think that one you hold on, but link up with other people living with HIV. They have a strong community support, and you will feel happy at this time till we get over the bridge where communities can know about status of individuals. Thank you.